professional. It's my hope to have a 4 o'clock California time broadcast every Saturday. It's a place where we talk about anything, everything, live. We have a call-in phone number, 866-471-4321, and that line is open now. And I hope that we'll have participation from people out there, whoever hears my voice and somehow is interested. We're trying to talk about truth, truth in ourselves, truth in others, realizing that we're full of lies and deceit ourselves. So this past week has been a tremendous loss of property, some life, 11 or 12 at this point, I think, but a tremendous loss of property in Los Angeles area resulting from the forest fires, the wildfires out of control, driven by the 100-mile-per-hour Santa Ana winds. So what prompted me to make this little broadcast and commentary about this right now, of course, it's ongoing, it's happening right now. But I ran across on YouTube this extraordinary 5-minute video about this gentleman, older gentleman, in the Palisades area who has a house his parents gave him in 1960. He's been living in it his entire life. And he disobeyed the evacuation orders and stayed with his fire hose. And it's quite extraordinary. So let me try playing this.
Well, it's devastating. I've lived here my whole life. I know these people that lived in all these houses. I know the houses. This is my memories, and they're gone. But, unfortunately, this is California, and California is a desert, and you get fires like this. This is natural. This is from our manufacturing his photograph. We started off in photographic equipment. The house was built by my mother and father in 1960, and I lived here my whole life, so there's a lot of memories here, and I think I owed it to them as well to try my best to save it. But just did it with the hose. I got the heavier hoses, and I got the mask, I got the goggles, I got a helmet, a construction helmet from work. There you go, hosey. And then when you see this vortex of embers in that wind, it's pretty scary. But some things in life are worth fighting for, I mean, if I were to lose this house, it would be very difficult to afford to be able to build a new house, to pay the enormous property taxes they have here. What would I do? These are my
Prop
wife's, so I
13
better take care of them.
You need to be seen to be taking care of them.
Yes, I was awake all night, all day. Got a little bit of sleep after things calmed down a little bit, after all the houses burned down. I did probably hurt a rib jumping the fence over there, but I'll have to see a doctor when I get back. when I was out here hosing the house down and getting ready, and when the houses started to burn, I didn't see one single fire truck out here at all. Zero. If they had some fire trucks and just put a squirt here, a squirt there, and kept an eye on things, all these houses would be here now. I'm telling you right now, I saw it with my own eyeballs. All these houses, the houses behind me, they're all gone. They started with one little spark, one little small fire. They just squirted those out, had a few people out there, they'd all be here now.
Things that I mean, I've been doing fires here since I got here, basically. And like one of the things that the fire chiefs always say is just like,
Well, you know, I'll leave that to other people to decide. I did what I needed to do. I did what I wanted to do. I did what I thought I could do, and that's what I did. Went over there and closed in on this area over here. We started getting embers, so I got these
Great
trees
definition
on fire,
of
but I was
courage.
able to control that. Oh, actually, they've been very gracious. The neighbor over here thanked me for saving his house, and the neighbor over here thanked me. So, you know, thanks is plenty.
Okay, so I just wanted to play that short video. That gentleman was there with his fire hose and prevented the destruction of his own home, and it also saved the neighbor on each side of him. He looked out and saw all those other homes that could have been saved by other people with their fire hoses, but it didn't happen. They were evacuated. This gentleman disobeyed the evacuation order. Looked it up. It's a misdemeanor in Los Angeles, punishable by $1,000 fine. Very cheap. This gentleman should plead guilty to disobeying the order, pay the $1,000. He saved his home, a home that was his home his entire life. He had probably Prop 13 fixed property taxes. No doubt he didn't have enough insurance, if any insurance, to rebuild or suffer a reevaluation of the property, lose his Prop 13. This was his life he was fighting for. And he stood up, fought for himself, made his own decisions based on what his heart told him, what his mind showed him by what he could see out there. There wasn't any wall of fire coming at him, just a lot of embers in the air, embers setting off fires, little fires here and there that could be put out by a little fire hose. And he did it because he, among other things, could think for himself. He didn't rely upon mindless, soulless bureaucrats, police officials following their zombie instructions, who have no ability to have discretion, use judgment, think for themselves. They're just following their orders, ordering you, maybe for the safety of your body, but the certain destruction of your home. Now, in the news, was another old gentleman that was found burnt to a crisp holding his garden hose. I'm not sure where that was. So, standing and fighting may not be appropriate at all situations. It's something that needs to be sized up and decided in the immediate circumstances. But we need to be able to think for ourselves and act according to the dictates of our heart and our faith. This gentleman had faith. He wasn't afraid of death, I mean, necessarily. But there are times when it's worth risking your life for an important purpose, and this was to preserve his life. What kind of life would he have living in a homeless shelter the rest of his days? Which is probably what following the orders, what it would have resulted in. So, one more comment. This whole event reminds me of my own experience in the Big Tonga fire 50 years ago. I was 23 years old, um, and a homeowner. I was able to buy a little two-bedroom, old, really a cabin, had a real fireplace. I fixed it up and sold it at a nice profit in a couple years. I was still going to Cal State Northridge. Um, I bought it with I think $350 down payment, what I got from the student loan. It was cheaper to buy a house in those days than rent. All I had was a part-time job, and potentially that's all you needed to buy a house, as my dad said, to become a member of the landed gentry. Those days are long gone. Now, it's good probably that I sold the little house after a couple years. In fact, it burned down sometime later. It had very, very old electrical wiring, and it burned to the ground anyway. But I remember being stopped by the Los Angeles police. The entryway to Tujunga Canyon Road, Boulevard rather, Tujunga Canyon Boulevard in Tujunga was blocked up by police cars. They said I couldn't go home. My dog was waiting for me there. Couldn't go home to him. So I just obeyed. I drove through the gas station, going around their barriers, and went home. And it was quite a anxious night. I stayed up most of the night looking at the fires in the distance approaching hill after hill, coming closer and closer to burning up the town of Tujunga. It didn't happen. I fell asleep before morning, but we were still standing. I was, what was it, sitting or sleeping in a chair, I think, past. I can't help but think that what happened now, what's happening right now, could have happened 50 years ago, but we're still in receipt of God's grace, His long suffering and patience. I've been wondering, how long is God's patience? What bothers me about all of this is that we've rejected the truth. Los Angeles fired 500 of their very best firefighters in the pandemic because they're 500 probably Christian, brave firefighters. From my observation, you have to be brave and courageous and believe in something to give up your job, to stand firm to your principles, that the vaccine wasn't a vaccine at all. It was something else, part of some greater design. Part of a design, I think, to break down our individuality, our freedom of thought, and our belief in God, what we can do, and something to strip us of courage. We blindly, all those people in Los Angeles, and God bless them, and I don't wish for their suffering and their loss, but I'd much rather they experience true things. And the truth is, there are 12,000, over 12,000 homes right now that have been destroyed. How many of those could have been saved by courageous daddies holding their garden hose. And maybe some would have died because of that. But I know that no little policeman following his orders is going to tell you to ignore the orders and do as your heart tells you. And that's the problem. The people of Los Angeles have been denied property without due process of law by an arbitrary and frequently stupid order to leave when there was no wall of flame approaching, just a whole lot of sparks and a whole lot of danger. But it's a danger that each person should have been able to size up for themselves and not have to rely upon what others told them. Independence of thought and doing what is right, that's more important than your life, I think. It would be for me. And I hope to hear from somebody. Next week, I intend to do these broadcasts at 4 o'clock Pacific. As you see, the toll-free number, 866-471-4321. That's a call-in number. And if I ever get any call-ins on the live broadcast, we'll be able to have a conversation. And you can share your thoughts about what we're talking about or whatever else is on your mind or heart. We like to talk about things that need to be talked about that no one else is talking about. Anyway, God bless you, everyone, and have a great day.